The heretic's fork was a metal collar with two-pronged ends, one pressed beneath the chin, the other against the chest. Secured around the neck, it forced the victim to keep their head raised. Any movement caused sharp pain, leading to extreme discomfort, exhaustion, and eventual collapse after prolonged sleep deprivation. The scold's bridle was a metal head cage fitted with a gag designed to silence the wearer. Spikes inside the mouth punished any movement. It was primarily used to publicly humiliate women accused of gossiping or speaking out, stripping them of dignity while physically preventing speech. The blood eagle was a ritual execution attributed to Norse legend, where the victim's ribs were separated from the spine and spread outward, forming the shape of wings. Death came slowly through shock and blood loss, making it one of the most infamous punishments in history. Scaphism, often cited as one of the cruelest executions, involved trapping a victim between boats and covering them with substances that attracted insects. Left exposed, they suffered for days or weeks as insects inflicted continuous harm, leading to death through infection and dehydration. Branding used heated metal stamps to permanently scar the skin. Beyond the intense pain, the mark served as a lifelong reminder of punishment and public shame. The brazen bull was a hollow bronze statue shaped like a bull. Victims were locked inside while a fire was lit beneath it. As the metal heated, internal pipes transformed screams into animal-like sounds, turning execution into a public spectacle. The breaking wheel shattered bones before the victim was bound to a large wheel and displayed. Exposure to the elements ensured a slow, agonizing death. The breast ripper was a heated iron device used primarily as punishment. It caused severe injury and permanent scarring, often intended as both physical torment and public warning. The kang was a heavy wooden frame locked around the neck, restricting movement and eating. It served as a tool of public humiliation rather than execution. Castor oil punishment involved forcing large amounts of castor oil on victims, causing extreme physical distress. In some cases, individuals were confined until they confessed or succumbed to the effects. The choke pear was an expandable metal device inserted into the body and slowly widened, causing catastrophic internal damage. The head crusher gradually tightened around the skull, crushing facial bones and causing unbearable pain before death. The iron chair was fitted with spikes and heated surfaces, forcing victims to remain seated for hours or days while suffering continuous injury. Keel hauling was a naval punishment where a person was dragged beneath a ship's hull. Survivors often endured repeated rounds until death. Ling Chi, or death by 1,000 cuts, was an execution method in Imperial China where small portions of flesh were removed over time, prolonging suffering before death. The pendulum involved a sharp blade suspended above the victim, slowly descending with each swing, cutting deeper over time. The rack stretched the body by pulling limbs in opposite directions, dislocating joints and tearing muscles to extract confessions. Scavenger's daughter compressed the body into a forced crouch, focusing on crushing pain rather than stretching. Pau de Arara suspended victims from a rod by their limbs, often resulting in long-term joint damage. The tongue terror was used to mutilate the tongue, silencing victims permanently. The strappado involved hoisting victims by their bound wrists, frequently dislocating shoulders. Added weights intensified the pain. White room torture was psychological rather than physical. Victims were isolated in a completely white, soundproof environment, often leading to mental collapse. The oubliette was a deep dungeon pit where prisoners were dropped and forgotten, left to die from starvation. Gibbeting displayed bodies, or sometimes living prisoners, in metal cages as a public warning. The Spanish tickler was a claw-like device used to tear flesh, escalating from mild contact to severe injury. Bamboo torture exploited the rapid growth of bamboo,
using it to cause prolonged suffering. Flaying alive involved the removal of skin, leading to death from shock or infection. The Judas chair forced victims onto a pyramid-shaped seat, with body weight slowly causing severe internal injury. The Iron Maiden was a coffin-like enclosure lined with spikes that pierced the body when closed. The Spanish donkey was a sharp wooden beam that victims were forced to straddle, often with weights added to increase pain. Crocodile shears were heated metal tools used to amputate limbs. Chinese water torture relied on repetitive water droplets striking the forehead, driving victims into psychological distress and madness. The thumb screw crushed fingers or thumbs, commonly used during interrogations. The whirligig spun victims at high speeds, causing severe disorientation, nausea, and injury.